Good evening, my friends. This is Paul, and I was originally going to do something similar to the YouTuber Bogdan Yakubets, where he imitates all 16 personalities, but that would involve me getting a little bit loud and boisterous, and it's kind of late. I don't want to keep people up. So, what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to continue my ISTJ info dumping series. I wanted to do this eons ago, but it didn't turn out the way I liked it, so hopefully this will make up for it. And so today I'm going to be talking about how do ISTJs handle breakups. Now in my case, the definition of breakup is a lot different than the average person. To me, I'm the type of guy that deeply values the friends that I have. And if those friends don't reciprocate the value or the effort that I put into the friendship, or if they end it with no type of notice or something, that's when I'm going to get upset. Because we ISTJs value loyalty, honesty, integrity, dedication, all that stuff very, very much. We may not do the best job of showing it, but in our case, actions speak louder than words, quite literally. Usually when an ISTJ puts in the effort to, say, a text or a Facebook message or something that they wouldn't normally do, but yet they do it for a certain person, that means that they have a tremendous amount of respect and care for that person. But most of you are not like me. When you think of the word breakup, you think of either a marriage breakup or you think of a breakup in a romantic relationship. So, after all this time, if you guys weren't intuitive enough to already figure it out, I am now in the Lonely Hearts Club. To a certain extent, I love it. I mean, being able to have more money, selling off a whole bunch of games that I really didn't like, but kept it just in case of the kids. Now I'm just like, well, until I find myself the next Mrs. Right or Mrs. Faye, because I think I'd really love to date someone that's like Maya, I'm not going to be planning for a future that might not be possible. So how did I handle my breakup? Well, at first it went really smoothly. I just said that I don't think that... Okay, I'm not going to sugarcoat it for you guys. Here's what I actually said in these exact words. I said, you need to get your head screwed on. She was making a bunch of immoral and unwise and sometimes asinine decisions that weren't sitting well with the Catholic faith, and they weren't... It felt like I was doing most of the work, and she was kind of just like putting me to the side because she had more important things to take care of, even though she could have made a compromise. I wasn't expecting her to, lift up the earth for me, but maybe like take a day off from work once a month, once every 2 weeks. It's not going to kill you. Maybe not necessarily take off, but just request more time to like actually live. However, the majority of the struggles that go through an ISTJ's mind when they go through a breakup are on the inside. So while on the outside it may appear like we're totally calm and collected and, oh yeah, whatever, so girl decides to leave my life, more money for me, that's maybe what we look like. But on the inside, there's a lot of self-doubt and there's a lot of self-pity. ISTJs are usually very hard on themselves. They like to think they've got everything perfectly planned out, and when they're in the courtroom, they can act just like Miles Edgeworth and go, Your Honor, everything went perfectly according to my plan. The defense fell straight into my trap. That's what we like people to think. But in reality, we're more like Phoenix going, oh my gosh, no! What have I done? Oh my gosh. I can't believe that moment when she said that word, I couldn't tell that it was a red flag all from the get-go. So that means my people reading skills must have gone down the toilets, and that's not an exaggeration either. That's actually an under-exaggeration of the amount of turmoil we go through by believing that it's, for the most part, our fault, that we couldn't have seen this coming, that we should have been smarter, that we should have trusted our gut from the get-go, when in reality that's just not how we ISTJs roll. We don't typically rely on foresight a whole lot. We rely on what's worked before. In my case, I hadn't had a girlfriend before. I didn't have prior experience. So I went with what I had read, a little bit of what I believed in my heart too, but mostly like the do's and don'ts of dating from a Catholic perspective. Not any particular source, but just a combination of sources, homilies, friends of mine that were dating, some of which are now married to each other. And there is a definite amount of, I guess, envy, for lack of a better word, even though I don't want to call it envy because that makes it sound like I'm like jealous or something, which I'm not. But on the other hand, it's like, okay, you, who are not a planner in the slightest, got your very first girlfriend to end up being your wife. And my very first girlfriend ended up, I don't even want to say, on a public channel. And it gets us to wonder, like, were we supposed to have seen this coming? We're not known for being the most intuitive people in the world. We don't have this futuristic vision like the INFJs do that say, the truth is becoming increasingly clear to me. I can see that 20 years from now I'm going to be a stockbroker. No. ISTJs do not think like that at all. We think 2 days from now, the amount of facial hair I'll have is probably this much. So let's plan for an estimated time of shaving based on the average growth of the male's facial hair length. That's about as far as we're going to get. Maybe, just maybe, we might say, okay, let's look at the budget and consider my average spending total and figure out how much money I'm going to need in the bank on average so that I'll be able to pay the phone bill, the Gamefly bill, the gas bill, stuff like that. You're probably wondering why I'm going on a tangent, aren't you? Well, for one, this is info dumping. I'm allowed to go on a tangent. If it wasn't called info dumping, this would be way more controlled, scripted, to the T. Then it wouldn't be honest. Then it would be made for the audiences, and there would have to be a level of restraint saying you cannot talk like this because your audience is demanding that you give them what they expect from an ISTJ. Well, the thing is, a lot of us don't meet audience expectations. A lot of us are actually sort of our own little entity, but we don't want people to think of us like that. We have a very compartmentalized mind. To us, everything goes in its place. Mario Galaxy music goes here. Legend of Zelda music goes here. Donkey Kong music goes here. Persona goes here. When we pray, I say, okay, Karamat and Danielle up here. My best friend up here. His brother up here. My brother over here. My friend Anne over here. A couple of other married couples over here. Then friends from the mission trip over here. A couple of friends from the NCYC over here. Random bits and bobs here. No, that is no exaggeration. That is literally how my mind thinks when I'm praying about people. It has everything in some kind of list. But the thing is, because it's introverted, the average person is not going to see it. How does that relate to how we handle breakups? We begin to go into that compartmentalized mode, and we think about what can we learn from that experience, and how do we make sure that, one, it doesn't happen again, and two, what went right in the relationship, how do we repeat it? So we might say, okay, well, apparently I shouldn't be so brutally honest, because if I'm brutally honest with the girl, then that's going to hurt her feelings, because most girls are emotional train wrecks. So then therefore, in the mind, they're going to say, okay, shut down the brutally honest part altogether. Lock it away, throw it in the sea, eat the key, get surgery on the throat later because eating a key could leave scratch marks on the uvula and also on the vocal cords and the larynx. But you know what we really do? This is all sounding so complicated to you guys right now because most ISTJs don't like talking about what they're feeling about this. And to be honest, I'm actually glossing over a lot of stuff. We cry. Maybe not necessarily on the outside, but on the inside, we are screaming up a storm. And we present ourselves like, oh, hey guys, yeah, doing totally fine, no worries. Oh, yeah, girlfriend and I just broke up, what the heck. And we might actually believe that for, like, say, a year or two. And then all of a sudden, just out of nowhere, something comes along. And immediately, floods of images come pouring back in. We're like, you and her have the same eyebrows. And then all of a sudden, it's back to the self-pity, back to the self-deprecation, back to the, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, she's standing right there. And their personalities are so similar. Oh my gosh, she's even got a wart on her nose, just like my girlfriend did. Okay. How are they different? Let's see, how are they different? They're not different, they're very similar. So, hey, how's it? Oh no, I can't do that with my hands because the last time I did that with my hands, the girl thought that it was a perverted gesture. So maybe I should just say, hey, no, she hated that because that reminds her too much of a military man. There's a heck of a lot of panic and insecurity going on there. And a lot of ISTJs have a hard time moving on from that kind of trauma, especially when we're on the receiving end of the problem. Don't get me wrong, ISTJs aren't perfect. As I demonstrated in my last info dumping episode, people say that we lie. I don't personally believe it, but I'm not going to deny it either, because I don't want to think that every single person that's ever said an ISTJ doesn't lie is a liar. So all I'm going to say for now is every ISTJ is different, but most of us on the inside are going to be doing the blame game more than we are going to be blaming the other. Now, generally speaking, ISTJs don't shy away from confrontation. They just prefer to put themselves in a situation where conflict isn't necessary. Unlike the ESTJs, where they seem to thrive on saying, you're doing it wrong, you are an idiot, and let me show you how to do it because you don't have a single brain cell. We're likely going to say something more along the lines of, alright, so, you decided that you were going to break off our deal. So, I want you to give an accurate testimony as to why you made the decisions you did. Were you mentally sound? Was someone mind hacking you? Was your brain fully screwed on tight, or was there a wire loose? If I was willing to be PG-13, I'd probably say, were you... And then I'd get into the, okay, so you weren't... So, therefore, you were in your right mind. And yet you still made that mistake. And then I begin to overanalyze every mistake I made. But the problem is that it's often not a very realistic analysis. A lot of times we get into what's called ISTJ catastrophe mode. And instead of overanalyzing what we actually did wrong, we analyze what we could have done wrong, even if it's completely bogus. Like we might say, maybe if I hadn't combed my hair that day, maybe that would have changed things. Maybe if I hadn't introduced her to my friend, then maybe she wouldn't have gotten the idea that said friend who happened to be a female, that I was flirting with her, and then that wouldn't have caused her to do all of this and that and that. And normally ISTJs aren't like that. Normally they don't like overthinking everything. But when your heart has been crushed and brutally beaten, and someone who you thought you could trust, someone that you thought you could just break down all the barriers, that you could just be yourself without having to worry about being the strong, solid one, the one that holds the family together and says, it's going to be okay, guys. It's going to be okay. I gotcha. Everything's fine. But every now and then, we need that pat on the shoulder. Someone to tell us, you're okay, Paul. Don't worry about it. Just go ahead and cry. It's not the end of the world. And then when that person goes against our morals, against everything that we promised? Well, if you know the answer to what to do next, I'd love to hear it. Now, please don't think all of this is 100% accurate to what I'm feeling at the moment. Don't even think it's 100% accurate to what every ISTJ feels. Think of it as my personal experience being an ISTJ and my general knowledge of the functions saying that this is probably what's going to happen to others. If there's an ISTJ watching this that says, "Objection! Paul, I don't think you're right about me at all," I'll say, "Objection sustained. You're your own individual person. So don't think that you have to be exactly like every little thing I said just because you're an ISTJ." For the record, I did retake the Myers-Briggs test recently for anyone who thinks that I might have been, say, ISFJ or ENFP because I have a comedic side. Turns out I actually just have really developed introverted feeling. So that's what causes the confusion. With that said, thank you very much for watching. If there's anything I missed, just leave it down in the comment section. And because most people seem to forget what a comment section is, it's that part on YouTube where after it says the name of the video and the description, then you look down and it says comments. And then there's a rectangular box. And then you click it and then you type something. And then the reader responds to it. Thank you.